Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It has been a while, and oh, how I have missed everyone. Welcome to Politics in Plain English. Good morning, Barn Dog. Hey, Coyotes. How are you, my love? Barn Dog, welcome to the moderator family. I did have to mod up a couple of more people because it gets crazy over here nowadays. They got the memo that is action over here. But good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Earth Day. It is also my mom's birthday. She does watch my show. So, matter of fact, let me send her the link, not to come on or anything, but let me shout her out. Um, Let me shout her out really quick. Good morning, Boo. How are you? Good morning, good morning. So I happy birthday to my mother. May you see many more. Thank you for being just great. You are most welcome. Everybody show my mom some birthday love in the chat. Tell her happy birthday. Thank you for being the great mother, the teacher, the leader, the comforter, the caregiver, the beans, as my son calls her, that you have been the matriarch of our family. We appreciate you. We validate you. We see you, we hear you, and we also protect you at all costs. So happy birthday to her. So I have been a little bit of singing action. There was like a stomach bug going on, guys. Ooh, I thought it was taking me through there. Like I couldn't keep anything on my stomach, but I'm way better. It seemed like it was going around my son's school. So we caught it. And then yesterday we had a bunch of outdoor activities that we were doing. Together and things like that. And I always like to make balance, right? Balance is important. Being a mom, being a student, and being a woman, right? You just need balance. Balance is so important. So, good morning. Good morning. Let me mod one other person up real quick. Y'all welcome her to the moderator family. Is somebody that is going to be a great asset to the team. But anyway, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Donate to the coffee fund. Send a super chat to help me meet my goals. Good morning, Queen Diva. Good morning, Toya. Shell Loves, good morning. It's been a minute since I see you, girl, but I see you, back on the members only. So good morning to everybody. Yeah, but it's a great day, right? It is a great day. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe. Become a member if you would like to become a member. I'm trying to think, am I missing anything? I don't think I'm missing anything. Make sure y'all say hello to each other, get to know each other. And remember, watch out for, we don't mind you expressing your opinions here as long as they're respectful, right? You're not going to disrespect my moderators and you're not going to disrespect me. And they're going to get you up out of here if you do. So I will not be really paying attention to the chat. I want to get through a lot of stuff. I want to make you guys laugh. I want to have a good time today. We are going to talk about some serious topics, but we're going to make this a lot more fun today because it's just some funny things that I've been seeing online over these last couple of days. But first things first, let's shout out Virginia. Last night, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but remember, let's get into it. Okay. First of all, let me do my good morning spiel. Welcome to Politics Nation. I said Politics Nation. Lord, that's Reverend Al Sharpton. Welcome to Politics in Plain English. We talk current political events and explain what's happening, why it's happening, and what it means. All right, there we go. Now let's start the day. Thank you so much for my goals. I appreciate you. Okay, first things first. Remember about a year ago, Donald Trump said he needed more seats. He picked up the phone and he called Hot Wheels, Governor Hot Wheels. If you don't know who Governor Hot Wheels is, that is the governor in Texas. And you know he's in a wheelchair. So Jasmine Crockett calls him Governor Hot Wheels, and that's what we're going to call him, Governor Hot Wheels. So he said, Governor Hot Wheels, we need more seats. Well, instead of him deciding to, maybe put up a vote to see if that's what his people wanted. Hey, Roxy, thank you so much. Instead of him voting to see if people wanted redistricting, what did they do? Y'all remember the whole House of Representatives in Texas had to flee Texas because they didn't want to be forced to vote and things. And then that one representative would not leave the chambers because they said if she left the chambers, they were going to arrest her. Thank you so much for my goals. I appreciate it. Remember all of that chaotic stuff that was going on? Okay. So then you had Governor Newsom. He responded. He said, oh, you want to play? Because what that did was put Republicans up in the House by 5 seats, right? So Governor Gavin Newsom said, you want to play? Let's play. We're going to play by your rules, except we're going to put a referendum up and let the people vote. The people voted and said, yes, redraw the line. So then that canceled out the 5 that Donald Trump, wanted. That Texas went ahead and gerrymandered themselves without even doing what they need to do, right? Without even asking the people. So then other states started thinking about doing it, but I think they began to realize that this thing could really backfire, right? You had talks of certain places, and what they figured out is they actually could cancel themselves out, which is what we're seeing. So then New York said, okay, we'll get on board with this too. And Virginia said, we'll get on board with this as well, right? So Virginia did their referendum. Good morning, boo. Virginia had their referendum vote last night. And they said, yes, redraw this bad boy to make it even. And now Republicans, the GOP, what do we call the GOP? The grifter of politics. They are spiraling. I'm talking, they're going crazy. Oh, the only way they can win is to cheat. But when you guys were doing it, it was okay, right? There was no problem as long as the grifters in politics were cheating to win. So this is why they're so upset that Virginia came out loud and proud and said, redistrict, right? Draw the lines, because now you see in spaces where Donald Trump actually won. Thank you. Good morning. Now you see in spaces where Donald Trump won, right? Look at where these are the districts that the proposal went blue. So now what is happening is they're going to pick up 4 seats. You understand that? Major. They're going to pick up 4 seats. And what that does is pretty much says the grifters in politics will no longer have control of the House, right? What does that mean? We know the House. What does the House of Representatives do? The House of Representatives is the one that start impeachment, that start the investigations, and also is the purse. Okay, let me teach you something. A lot of people don't realize how bills are made, right? It starts in the House of Representatives, then it goes over to the Senate, and then it reaches the president's desk. That's how it works. But here with the House right now, what will happen when one party is the majority, they get a House Speaker. The House Speaker is third in line of power. So if something happens to the president, you have the vice president, and then you have the House Speaker, right? So that's how these things work. So now what you have there, they already know the writing is now on the wall. They are going to lose in the midterm, and I don't even think it's going to be close. But now with the redistricting, I'm sure they're going to try to take it to the Court of Appeals, all this stuff. They're going to lose because it was a referendum voted on by the people. It wasn't just rammed down their throat. And that's the way that you do it. Virginia is more of a blue state than it is a red state, because people have to understand land does not vote. It's people that vote. So yes, you have these counties that look red, but you have to look at the population of the people. So Fairfax County was really the ones that won this, because pushed it over the edge, because that they are heavily populated, because most of those people typically work in DC. It is really close to DC. So they were in Fairfax County was the one, and then like Hampton, where HBCUs reside, things of that nature, heavily populated with people. So of course, you will start to see where the educated population are more liberals. It just is what it is, right? They're more progressive. So this is what we're looking at. Kudos to Virginia for getting out there and doing what they need to do. And what this is also going to translate into, this is the potential, this is what we're looking at right now for midterms. This is what we're looking at, okay? This is what we're looking at as of just a few days ago, I think 11 days ago. This is what we're looking at. We are looking at a 4-seat toss-up where you see Texas, which Tellerico is down there. You see Illinois is up. No, what is that? Yeah, Michigan is up there. Then you also see where, the red states, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Those are the red states. And then you see the blue states. Now the toss-ups, then you see the light blue. North Carolina and Georgia are light blue. We know Roy Cooper is up. We know John Ossoff is in there, which I'm pretty much can guarantee they're going to win. We know Roy Cooper is going to win because Roy Cooper has name recognition from everybody in North Carolina. We love Roy Cooper. It's easy work because it's a dead heat now. So, and he got into the race late. So it's pretty much, we already know how that is going to pan out there. But this is what they're absolutely afraid of, because they know once the House is taken over by the progressives, pretty much Trump's presidency is over. And they know that hearings, they know all type of investigations are going to begin, and impeachment. And not only impeachment of the president, but a possible impeachment of this guy. And if you guys are wondering who this guy is, Pakistan released a sketch of JD Vance pants here, of his facial expressions during closed door negotiations. But they can impeach this guy right here. Good morning, Sean. How you doing, boo? They can impeach this guy right here. I think this sketch is hilarious, okay? Because, yeah. Y'all can't tell me that he don't be in his wife's clothes. Y'all not going to tell me that he don't be in his wife's clothes, when late in the midnight hour. Y'all not going to tell me he not in his wife's clothes and not in her makeup. You're not going to tell me that Vance pants don't have a vanity set, okay? Okay, Ginger wins. I'm glad you're learning a lot. Y'all not going to tell me that this man don't have a vanity set with makeup and don't be down there cosplaying, because y'all know how the Republicans do. Y'all know that these folks cannot stand women, and they can't stand women because they be liking men and they be wanting to be women. And that's why this right here, right? Look at him. Like, I don't know if that's a Jerry carrot curl. So I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's I don't know if he took gel. I don't know if y'all not gonna tell me he not in there with a diffuser. Y'all know the blow dryer with the bunch of little pricklies on it, looks like, and a diffuser, and that he not in there going like this every morning, trying to get camera ready, and he not in y'all not gonna tell me it's my mom's birthday, Sean. You're not gonna tell me he don't be in there like this. You know what I'm saying? Back there, especially before it's time for him to see the press. Y'all not gonna tell me he not out there like this. JD Vance pants, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And he needs to go ahead. We need to he needs to like reach out to Ulta or Sephora or something and get that no smudge, no run. You know what I'm saying? No smudge, no run, eyeliner. That's what he need, because if y'all see him in his pictures, his eyeliner is always running. And he's not gonna tell us he don't be wearing eyeliner. Y'all know that men be wearing eyeliner. Y'all see it for yourself. So the next time he's like on TV, just pause it and go up to the TV and look close. Or if you're on your cell phone or something, take a screenshot of it and then zoom. You know how you can zoom in, from the picture. Zoom in and you see it. I'll be like, boo, you need smudge proof. Like, up your game. Up your game, Vance Pants. Up your game, okay? Up your game, Vance Pants. They have smudge proof, run proof, waterproof. You know what I'm saying? That's drag approved. You know what I'm saying? Like, and get you a little better diffuser. We need a little bit more volume in that thing. You know what I'm saying? Clock it. We need a little bit more volume in there. But they all think they fine. They think they fine like white wine, because this one, wife, they said liberal men are attractive. Katie Miller, the wife of the racist Stephen Miller, the Nazi Stephen Miller, says, are y'all seeing this? Said that liberal men aren't attractive. Wait, what? And this tank head is attractive. Hey, good morning. This tank head is attractive. Is it? Are we okay? Do y'all see this man? That man hairline is beyond the salute. Salute hairline is like right here. Baby, that thing is look like he got cradle cap. He got a cradle cap hairline. Cradle cap. He got cradle cap. His cradle. Look at it. Just shave it all off. Like, who hairline start back here? Even Stephen A. Smith hairline ain't that bad. And he hanging on for dear life on a women of prayer, honey. He is hanging on by a little piece of thread and a rope. But this man hairline is all the way back here. Okay, you can see he gritting his teeth so bad. You see the little muscle coming out the side of his head. You know what I'm saying? And you see the 5 o'clock shadow. And then he got a butt for a chin. Look at all this going on. He got all this going on. And he got a little beak on him. And all this stuff. And she wants to say that liberal men aren't attractive. Baby, they eating her up on Twitter. They eating her up. I mean, eating her up, rightfully so, because what about this is cute? Please, somebody tell me, how about this? I challenge y'all right now in the chat. Say one nice thing about this picture. Say one nice thing. I'll wait. Say one attractive thing about this picture. I will wait, because we have plenty attractive liberal men. But for her to come out of her bad built body self, because she another bad built body woman self, and talk about liberal men aren't attractive. Well, what is this? Because the last time I checked, President Barack Obama is a fine black man. Yeah, he is. So I don't know what's going on here. Okay. They love to talk crazy. It'd be like the audacity for me. It is the audacity. Okay. What are we doing? And meanwhile, let's not forget about the Epstein files. I got to throw that in there. There's a cover up going on. Okay. We got to keep the Epstein files alive, and we got to keep talking about it, right? They're showing these, he does look like Voldemort off of Harry Potter. Oh my gosh, he does. And I'm a Harry Potter fan, okay? I love Harry Potter. He looks like Voldemort. Shout out to Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling's. But the Courier has done a very, very good investigative reporting on these entities that are spending millions and millions of dollars Sharia law is crazy. And we could talk about that a later date, but thank you for the super chat. These are the places that are helping aid the cover up, y'all. So the British royal family is spending about 16 million Deutsche Bank 251 million Deutsche Bank was used to traffic some of these monies. So in the report, it shows like they knew how to put a certain amount of money in a bank account and like how to move it and how not to move it, like not move too much at one time, the day of the week, like the timing of how they moved it and where to move it to make sure they got it offshore, things of that nature. They had money tied up in JP Morgan, which is Chase, 365 million. This guy named Leon Black, 62.5 million. Bank of America, 72.5 million. And then actually Epstein's estate, 335 million. And what happened, these banks also were responsible for some of the payouts. And eventually JP Morgan and Chase shut down Epstein's bank account and turned it over to the feds. He do look like a big toe. Turned it over to the feds and said, hey, follow the money. We already know you always follow the money, right? You always follow the money, but that's just to keep that in the back of our mind. Hey, this is what's going on here. And y'all know I like to touch on things until we build up to some of the deep dive in the conversations, right? While we're talking about money, the Southern Poverty Law Center was charged with defrauding donors. And if you don't know what the Southern Poverty Law Center is, pretty much the KKK. That's pretty much what they are. They're the KKK. And so they raised millions of dollars that paid the KKK and other hate groups. But it's MAGA. This is MAGA right here. MAGA in law. That's really what the Southern Poverty Law Center is. It's MAGA in law. Well, the FBI, that's one thing that they actually did well, was the FBI found out that they were funding a lot of these hate groups. But let's not forget, that still does not erase the fact that y'all have not disclose those Epstein files the way that you should be disclosing them in the way that y'all are tampering with evidence and things of that nature. We're not forgetting that whatsoever either. So they've been found guilty. Well, they've been charged. They sent it to, they did a grand jury indictment and a grand jury came back with an indictment on it. So some people are going to be getting charged. Some people are going to be having to be subpoenaed and do depositions. Be prepared to kind of see some of this in some of the headlines, because they also are trying to do anything and everything to turn the tides, because right now Donald Trump's approval rating has hit 33%. Yeah, has hit 33%. It's pretty bad. And since we're talking about court, well, let's just go here real quick. We talking about MAGA. Y'all know shaky Susan Collins, who's always looking at things, oh, that's concerning. This is why she will not be winning her Senate seat again. She has endorsed a Florida man, Florida. She has endorsed a Florida man who is an extremist. He's anti-choice. He does not like Medicaid expansion, and he calls himself Trump before Trump. And see, she does things really quietly and backdoor, right? So that they can line her pockets. But Susan Collins, we're here to say you're not going to win this one. She's having a tough time with this reelection. And I do not see her winning whatsoever, because Maine is suffering. Maine is suffering really bad right now. Like, with insurance, like it's a lot of things. And she even undercut her own people. So yeah, there's that. Thank you, Barn Dog, for the goals. And if you're wondering what this picture is, it is the 10 Commandments. So, it's supposed to be separation of church and state. Well, Texas now went to the Court of Appeals, and Court of Appeals has ruled that they can display the 10 Commandments in schools. Okay? 10 Commandments in schools. This is what the Court of Appeals has ruled for, right? And that's great. Like, listen, I believe everybody should believe in something, have some walk of faith. Whatever it is, I cannot be upset at what you believe in, your religious choice, your religious values, or whatever, right? But here's the problem, right? Here's a problem that I have, because they like to pick and choose when they use religion to benefit them. And it, it bothers me so much because they love to cherry pick. They love to cherry pick when it's convenient for them to use, you know, the Bible and Bible verses, and when, it benefits them, right? So about a day ago, Pierce Morgan, I don't really care for him, but he's like going crazy himself on his show. Hey, boo, on his show, he has a pastor who is Pete Hegseth, the drunk in charge at the Pentagon. Pete Hegseth's pastor, who's all the way at the end. And then we have two political commentators who are progressives, right? Who are rational thinkers. I want you guys to listen to the way they ate this man alive at the things that he says. And this is why people have to be very careful of false prophets. And this is classic example of them trying to use the Bible and distort God's word into a way to fit their personal ideals. Okay. I want you guys to watch this. My mouth was on the floor because when I said read for filth, I couldn't have did a better job myself. Okay. So just let's let this play.
Had been blasphemous with the imagery he'd been posting about himself as Jesus Christ, and he angrily condemned Donald Trump's attack on Pope Leo. What is your response to that?
I would, thanks for having me first. I would divide my response into two categories. One, I think that image was blasphemous, and I tweeted that fact. I thought it ought to be printed on black velvet so we could call it blasphemous and tacky. So it was not a good image, no bueno. Not defending it. Glad the president took it down. I'm glad he responded to criticism, albeit somewhat lamely. He had a red robe, he was robed, not with a stethoscope. So that was one thing. The other thing was his scrape with the Pope. I would put that in a different category. The Pope was a Chicago lefty before he became Pope, and he is speaking bromides, inserting God into a geopolitical event, while at the same time.
You heard that. He said he's invoking God in a geopolitical event. However, you guys are invoking God in public school systems, not a Catholic or a Christian school, but a public school system where it has already been, by the Supreme Court, separation of church and state. Remember that, right? This is where I keep saying they try to use good morning, Room Shaker. They try to use religion as a tool to oppress and suppress others of their choosing. And they use that religious sword whenever they feel like it. Okay, let's keep going.
Objecting to other people injecting God. I'd just like to know what the rules are. If Pete Hegseth tweets as though he were a believing Christian and the president tweets as though he's not a Christian, why are we upset at both? What are the rules here? And secondly, if Hegseth is a particular kind of Christian and he is speaking that way, he's speaking from his conviction with regard to the war.
And mind you, Pete Hegseth was not quoting from the Bible. He was quoting from Pulp Fiction and thought that there was a real Bible verse. Okay. Pete Hegseth, the drunk in charge, was quoting Pulp Fiction and not an actual Bible verse. Just let that sit there for a second. And this is his pastor. This is his religious leader. Okay. Let's carry on.
Pope is doing the same thing, a different variation, a different stream of Christianity, but he's speaking to international relations, and he's applying his understanding of the faith to it. Well, why does he get to do that and other people don't?
Okay, well, Tim Miller, you're a Catholic, I believe. Is that right?
Well, I'm a cradle Catholic. Piers, we're all on a journey together. You know,
No, I was just curious what you feel about the row between the Pope and the President. You know, has what the Pope been saying crossed a line in terms of political commentary, or is he just being consistent to what most popes do, which is preach about peace and not war?
Yeah, I think that the people that think that the Pope has crossed a line, you know, have you know, no memory, or didn't start paying attention to the news or to the Pope before Donald Trump was around. Pope Leo's comments are in line with what we've heard from popes going all the way back to Pope John Paul. And Pope John Paul II opposed both Iraq wars, did so vocally. And, you know, I don't recall George H.W. Bush or George W. Bush getting into a fight with the Pope. Multiple popes have criticized Democratic leaders for their stances on abortion and other issues. I don't remember Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi telling the Pope to shut his pie hole when he weighed in on, you know, the Catholic teaching on abortion. Donald Trump wants to make everything about himself. He wants to pick this fight because that's the only thing he knows how to do, is bully people and pick fights. So it's kind of what we'd expect for Donald Trump. It's a little confusing for JD Vance, who converted to Catholicism 2 seconds ago and then decided to write a book about his conversion, to now come out and say that the Pope needs to be careful when he speaks about theology, as if JD Vance, who's been a Catholic for 2 minutes, knows more about Catholic doctrine and just war theory than the Pope. I think probably he would benefit from listening to the Pope. And yeah, I don't know who is really buying that from him, from the vice president. Like, why? You know, it's not as if he comments.
And mind you, this is a vice president that just put out a book about Catholicism with a Methodist church on the cover. This is how unserious these people are. This is how unserious this administration is. This is how unserious that these fake Christian wannabes are. They're so unserious. So the fact that, again, this is why I call them grifters of politics. He puts out a book on Catholicism and with a Methodist church on the front. You really cannot make this up, even if you tried. And then to insult and threaten the Pope and tell the Pope to stick to religion, the Pope was talking about religion. And the Pope was doing what any other Pope has done, which clearly we're hearing right here. But it gets even better, guys. Hang in there with me. It gets even better.
About how Donald Trump should be careful with his language ever. JD Vance never criticizes Donald Trump, but now all of a sudden he simultaneously went through this conversion to MAGA hood, where he's a Donald Trump acolyte, and he went through a conversion to Catholicism at the same time. It's very phony and it's very fake, and I don't think it's helping either of them politically.
Yeah, which the fascinating thing to me, I'm a Catholic, and so I don't like seeing people trashing the Pope for just saying what a Pope is expected to say, I would argue, which is to preach peace, not war. But what's interesting is the politics of this. 20% of Americans are Catholic, many of whom will have voted for Donald Trump. And the latest NBC News poll showed that Pope Leo has a 34-point net favorability in his personal approval rating. Donald Trump -12. Pope Leo is one of the most popular public figures in the United States. He's the first American Pope. People like the guy. And, you know, 42% of Americans view the Pope favorably compared to 41% for Trump. So there's no real upside here politically for Trump, which just begs the question, why is he doing it?
Well, I actually went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school, so if I may bring out a banger from the Bible, because we have such a religious panel today. This was Jesus' warning in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. That's for you, Pastor Wilson. But speaking about the Pope, it's terrible politics, like you said. First and foremost, this is the spiritual leader of over 1 billion people. The Pope, just because he wears a costume and has the Pope mobile, Donald Trump thinks he's a politician who fights crime. I think Donald Trump thinks the Pope is Batman. No, it's a spiritual leader with immense significance for the world, and not just Catholics around the world, but a lot of religious communities. And as such, Donald Trump picking a fight with Pope Leo, like you said, who is the most popular American right now. When all Americans are polled, the #1 most popular American is Pope Leo, the first American Pope. Donald Trump, in this disastrous war, has attacked the Pope 8 times. On Easter, the holiest day for Christians, which celebrates resurrection and rebirth, what did Donald Trump do? A blasphemous tweet using profane language, threatening genocide in this unwinnable war. Then I think he converts to Islam, Piers, to mock Muslims, and he says, praise be to Allah. He follows it up with more genocidal tweets. Then a week later on Orthodox Easter, what does he do? Mocks the Pope with his blasphemous image, the first commandment, thou shalt not worship any other God.
Pay attention to this pastor over here, y'all. Pay attention to his body movements. Pay attention how uncomfortable the truth is to him. You can tell, listen, you can always tell when like people are lying, they're uncomfortable, they're agitated, they're aggravated. His truth and the truth is aggravating him because he is putting his false prophecy on Foot Street. He is tapping him on the shoulder in essence and saying, hey, and he said it, this is for you, because this right-wing sycophant of a wannabe pastor is out here supposedly preaching the gospel, but preaching hate gospel. Let's be very clear about that. It is not the gospel of God. It is not the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is not the gospel of the good book. It is not the gospel of any of that stuff. It is the gospel of pure hate oppression. Okay. That's exactly what it is. Racism, sexism, misogyny. Because here's another thing is, if a pastor can align themselves with this administration, that means they're okay with white men touching little girls and little boys. Because it's been spelled out. How many times you're seeing how many congressmen are having to step down because, yeah, Eric Swalwell did whatever. We told him to get him up out of there. We got him up out of there in about a week and some change. Now it's other people whose dirty laundry is coming up now, and they're going to have to step down too. There's a couple of more congressmen that are in the wind that are going to have to step down in the Republican Party. They are not only are they the grifting of politics, they're the greatest of pedophiles too. They've got the pedophile in chief of Donald Trump, who literally said he will grab women by the you-know-what, and he can do whatever he wants because people lets him. Let's not forget that. So this is what they align themselves with. Meanwhile, you have Paula White out here saying that, Trump is Jesus. Like, they're showing pictures of all of these clergymen praying over him as if it's some type of, it's this propaganda. They're propping this up to show that he believes in the Bible, when this is the man that didn't even put his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in. This is the man that held the Bible upside down. This is the man that can't even tell you what his favorite scripture or his favorite book in the Bible is. He can't even tell you. He doesn't even know how the Bible is worded. Again, we'll go back to 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians. Let's not forget about that. But let's carry on because he's dragging him. Okay.
Before me, then he gaslights the world and says, it wasn't me as the Pope or God or Jesus. No, I was just the Red Cross. And everyone's like, please, now you're lying to us. But the Pope, meanwhile, is doing what the Pope always does. The Pope is preaching the word of God, trying his best to live the life of Jesus. Jesus, who, by the way, healed the sick and the blind, didn't charge copay, who divided fish and loaves, gave it to people, didn't tell them to pull themselves up from the bootstrap. And Donald Trump has picked this fight with the Pope and says he needs to do more to fight crime. It's terrible politics. It's also blasphemous. It is also terrible with his base. You've seen Alex Jones now invoke the 25th Amendment, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You've seen videos now of MAGA saying, you know what, this is a step too far. It's just unnecessary vulgarity.
Which I can't believe. And we're going to talk about this step too far thing. It's a step too far because now they're looking for a new home. So let's not be blinded by that either. We know that they're trying to rebrand themselves because now that they've ushered him in, it's not working out well for their future. Because Donald Trump, here's the problem with the grifters in politics. Donald Trump is not going to be here forever. Like, he looks like he's going to croak over any day now anyway, but he's not going to be here forever. And nor is MAGA. MAGA is shrinking more and more and more and more and more because they brainwash folks to think that everybody else is the enemy. Everybody else is living off the government. They shrunk all, they did a really good job at messaging in that way. But these folks are looking for a new home. Now it's a bridge too far, like it's been a bridge too far. It wasn't a bridge too far when he depicted, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as apes. It wasn't too far when he said, grab the women by the you-know-what. It wasn't too far that, he called his own daughter a hot piece of ass. It wasn't too far that, he's got all these lawsuits and racial discrimination lawsuits that he lost. His father, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. It wasn't too far that we know he's a liar. It wasn't too far that this man even lied about his weight. He says he's 200 pounds. Y'all look at him and y'all can tell he's more than 200 pounds with that big old pot belly. Okay, listen, it wasn't too far that he doesn't even know foreign policy, that he's never been a servant. Being in government is being of service. But now this is too far? Okay, I digress, but let's carry on.
On top of an unpopular war, I want to remind you all, he promised his base no more forever wars. What does he do? Lead us in this unwinnable war. Oil prices are up, gas prices are up, fertilizer prices are up, and now we're in food shortages. He promised to release the Epstein files, is doing a cover-up. He said he'll bring down inflation. Now we're going to get worse inflation. And to top it all off, Pierce, he is now attacking, like you said, the most popular not political, but the most popular individual in America, Pope Leo, who is the spiritual leader of 1 billion Catholics. On top of that, he has a war in Iran. He's surrounded by all these cosplay crusaders like Pete Hegseth insulting Muslims. And if I can, to the pastor real quick. Well, Pete Hegseth is not the Pope. Pete Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense in the United States of America. Pete Hegseth should read the Constitution. We have a separation of church and state. Also, Pastor, I know Pete Hegseth is your star pupil. Pete Hegseth, maybe he should read the Bible and not watch Pulp Fiction, because Pete Hegseth embarrassed himself and just quoted Samuel L. Jackson from Ezekiel 25:17. So maybe when you get invited to the Pentagon, sit with Pete Hegseth, have him read the Bible and read the Constitution, and maybe he could just tattoo Ezekiel on his arm this time. That's your failure, sir, as his teacher.
Yeah, nice try.
Well, Pastor Doug, your response to that?
Yeah, there are a multitude of things to respond to there. First, to say that the Pope is simply talking about peace and love and all the things that a spiritual leader has to say. The spiritual leader of that many professing Christians needs to do more than wave his hands over a geopolitical mess and speak in bromides, and then back it off and say, I wasn't talking about President Trump in the clip that was shown at the beginning. You can't just say boys, boys, as though you have any kind of moral authority to speak to it. Pope John Paul II did oppose the Iraq wars, as did I, right? So that's one thing. But Pope John Paul II was was instrumental in the collapse of the Soviet Union. He was no stranger to hardball politics. He knew what he was doing. He and Thatcher and Reagan had something that they were working on. And so it's a little bit simplistic. Pope John Paul II was not speaking in bromides. Francis was a bromide meister. Pope Leo, the Pope Leo is speaking in all these sweetie nice categories.
What is this man even saying? Because he's not even responding to anything that he just said. Can we say word salad? Can we say, like, this is what the grifters in politics do, right? They talk about so much, they talk about nothing. Like bromicide, this and that. Like, what are you talking about? And you're trying to discredit that he's the Pope, for God's sake. He's owed some respect. Like, please, he's the Pope, for God's sake. And like he said, Pete Hegseth is not. And this is a failure on your part for him not to really know the Bible, since you are his, religious leader, mentor, guide, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? They're probably drinking together because he looked like an old man drunk too. But I digress. But let's just hear these excuses and passes and these walk arounds and talk arounds and all of these whatever things. Here we go.
Can't say, and this is really important, you can't say, you quote Matthew 7 and say, that's for me. Beware of people who are wolves in sheep's clothing. And then point to the man who is dressed out in sheep's clothing. The one thing we can say about Trump is that he's not a wolf in sheep's clothing. If anything, he's a wolf in wolf's clothing, or quite possibly a sheep in wolf's clothing. The Pope, who is doing all these God is in favor of pussy willows and rainbows.
Did y'all just see this? He said he's not a sheep in wolf's clothing, but then he just said he's a wolf in sheep. Anyway,
that doesn't cut it. The Iranian regime is a murderous regime. There are legitimate objections.
I mean, hang on, Pastor, if I may jump in, let me jump in, because I'm sorry, but it seems to me if you're going to compare the Pope's rhetoric in the last month with Donald Trump's rhetoric, one has been brazenly espousing genocide, talking about the end of civilization in Iran, which would mean the murder of 90 million people, the vast majority.
He was talking about the regime.
Civilians. People could. Well, he wasn't talking about the regime, was he? He said the end of civilization, not the end of the regime. Why do we try and pretend that Donald Trump didn't say what we heard him say?
Oh, look, you don't have to persuade me that that Donald Trump's rhetoric can be all over the place. His tweets there were an art of the unhinged deal. He's dealing with a maniacal regime, and he is negotiating with them in public by means of these tweets. That's not to say that I approve of everything he says or the way he says it, but I think I see what's going on. And you don't have to accuse him of genocide when he's done nothing of the kind.
No, but he threatened genocide. I mean, for the president of the United States to actually post something on his social media account which threatened the end of civilization.
And this is the problem. They live in a land of delusion. They live in a land of delusion, okay? Because Is Not Real has been committing genocide to Gaza for years now. Is Not Real is over there in Iran attempting to commit genocide and also stealing people's homes, okay? And Lebanon, over there in Lebanon, they're trying to flatland places and take over their land and their minerals, okay? He meant every word that he said. Well, whatever. I don't believe that any admiral or, was going to take those orders, but still, if it came out of your mouth, that means you thought about it. You thought about it. Now, we don't know if that was his dementia mind talking or Stephen Miller or Pete Hegseth talking, but none of them are in their right minds either. But he literally said he was going to wipe out a civilization. And they want to make excuses. No, he was talking about the regime. No, that's not what he said. And first they said it wasn't going to be a regime change. Now it is going to be a regime change. Like, make up your mind. But I want to get to the good part.
In Iran. And then for supporters of the president, I've known him a long time. I get on very well with Donald Trump. But the idea that anyone would try and spin the words the end of civilization to mean specifically the end of a regime of a few 100,000 people, including the IRGC, is for the birds. That's not what he said. Why would you as a pastor go out of your way to try and justify what he said by downgrading it to something we know he didn't say?
Because I'm not defending what he said. I'm defending what he's doing. Why the ceasefire? If he's all about genocidal,
was there a ceasefire? Raise your hand if there was a ceasefire. So isn't saying something, doing something, isn't saying something in action? Didn't he put us in a choice war that is doing something? So yes, you are defending who he is. They love to conflate the two. No, you're defending him.
destruction of Iran. Why the ceasefire? Why did he say? Why did he hold off right before bombing the infrastructure? I look at what he's doing, not what he's saying.
I think the problem. All right, the problem I have with what he's doing is that there's a lot of very confident stuff coming out of Donald Trump at the moment about the war's over. The Iranians have agreed to everything. They're going to give up all their enriched uranium. We've won. We've destroyed them. They're powerless, blah, 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 blah. The trouble is the Iranians didn't get the same memo and don't appear to have agreed to any of this. In fact,
I'm attacking a man who wrote that American.
Okay. I want you.
Look, if you want to teach like this kind of fake Christianity, that's fine. You can do that. You know, if you want. No, I've not read your book. I'm very happy to have not read your book. But if you want to do this kind of vice signaling Christianity, where we're going to do Christian vices,
on what it's about.
Well, I've seen enough of your material on social media that it doesn't really require anymore. I mean, it doesn't. It's not like there's a ton of deep thought that's going behind it that requires further study. As the show started out, I thought we were supposed to refrain from attacking religious leaders. You attacked the Pope.
Well, I have no problem. Listen, real quick, Pastor. I have no problem attacking wolves in sheep's clothing. I have no problem attacking a man who wrote that American slavery was mutually harmonious between the slave master and the slave. That's you. I have no problem attacking a man who proudly says he wants to do away with the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. I have no problem attacking a man like yourself who sits here incoherently supporting an incoherent, unwinnable, illegal war in Iran. I have no problem attacking you, a man who's the religious leader of Pete Hegseth, a man who's a cosplay crusader, who's leading some type of crusade, probably you put him on, as a Secretary of Defense, getting Americans and innocent civilians killed. I wish you would be a better Christian. I wish you would open up the Bible. I wish you would meet the Jesus that I met when I went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school. The Jesus that took care of the sick, that took care of the poor, that welcomed the immigrant, that welcomed the marginalized, that helped them. But instead, you've used Jesus as a mascot for, I don't know, your white Christian supremacy, your cruelty, your misogyny. And I'm so glad that people are finally waking up to your cruelty and to the idiocy of your star disciple, Pete Hegseth, who keeps messing up and literally does not read the Bible and quotes Pulp Fiction. Just sit with them. Maybe both of you could read the Constitution, read the Bible, and just take a break, Pastor.
And that's the look of, you done fucked around and found out. He has fucked around and found out. This is what happens when you try to have a debate with educated people who operate in the truth, people who operate in actual reality. Okay. This is what happens when fact meets fiction, ladies and gentlemen. The way he just walked him down and called him out for every despicable thing that he is. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the face of, I just fucked around and found out. Okay. Y'all can go back to Piers Morgan and see more of that interaction. It was great. It was chef's kiss, right? And since we're on the theme of fuck around and find out, right? Since we're on that theme, you know, folks keep screaming, I didn't vote for them. I didn't vote for them. I didn't vote for them. Right? They keep screaming this whole, I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this. This woe is meism. Yes, you did vote for it. I don't want to hear it. But guess who else is fucking around and finding out? Guys, listen to this real quick.
That once you transition, that white male privilege does not transition over with you.
It looks to me like Caitlyn's white male privilege might have disappeared right along with your hairline.
Well, we're moving on now.
But what do I know? Maybe neither actually existed in the first place. Or another possibility could be that Caitlyn's white male privilege is still intact and we just can't see it. But either way, you are definitely still bald-headed, Tweety.
Tweety's my name.
Should we come back after you finished having your stroke?
Well,
Okay, this person is clearly going through an episode, but this is the type of person that we're supposed to take seriously in these debates. Next.
We have some news right now. Caitlyn Jenner, who voted for Donald Trump, who supported Donald Trump, is now asking Donald Trump for help.
Okay, I think a very important thing that everybody's missing is that Caitlyn Jenner isn't asking for Donald Trump's help for herself. Caitlyn Jenner is asking for Donald Trump's help on behalf of trans people as a whole.
I can see the president because he's a friend, going, hey, Caitlyn, give me your passport, I'll fix it. I don't want that. I want to be able to fix it for everybody.
Which, if you ask me, that's what the real problem is, and that's what Caitlyn should stop doing.
Because of Donald Trump's policies, she says she can't travel safely anymore because of Trump's anti-trans passport policies.
I watched the full interview. At no point did Caitlyn Jenner use the words anti-trans passport policy. And actually, Caitlyn was very clear about the fact that she loves Donald Trump.
Caitlyn Jenner has been publicly identifying as a woman for many years.
That's misinformation as well. Caitlyn Jenner, in fact, does not identify as a woman.
I consider myself a trans person.
Yeah.
And this is very important for me to point out because it's a huge part of the reason that the trans community hates Caitlyn Jenner.
I see these, trans women are real women. No, you're not. Okay, that's the bottom line.
And I know that this is a point in the comments when somebody's going to mention that Caitlyn Jenner accepted Woman of the Year back when she first came out, which Caitlyn does address that on the Tommy Lahren interview as well.
I started thinking, what a hypocrite I am. Trying to keep biological men out of women's sports, but I'm a biological man, and they gave me Glamorous Woman of the Year award.
And also, Caitlyn mentions in that same interview that she put a tweet out saying that she would give up that award, but that nobody picked it up because it didn't go with the left-wing narrative.
I just put a tweet out on it, and it got
How about Caitlyn Jenner? The reason why nobody picked up on it is because we really don't take you serious. You or that wig or all those 5,100 wrinkles from chin on down to your neck. Nor do we take your eyebrow permanent raised serious either. We don't take you serious because one minute you want to cross your legs like a woman and the next minute you want white male privilege. You can't have two of the same thing. And another reason why we don't take you serious is because we told you this is what was going to happen. You also are one of the ones that go in the bucket of voting against your own interests when they're telling you the interest that they are putting forward. The interest that they're putting forward is anti-trans and anti-gay, anti-lesbian, anti-women, anti-everything that has to do with two tits and you know what. And you still want to sit here and say, well, I'm going to support Trump. Well, how can you support Trump when he doesn't even support what you did? Okay. He doesn't support that you decided to put on oversized heel, an extra large dress, and a wig. He doesn't like the fact that you put on they all put on makeup, but he doesn't like the fact that you wear pearl earrings and paint your fingernails. So this is blasphemy all across the board, hypocrisy. You are a Hippocratic being walking. You're a joke. And now on the series of Fucked Around and Find Out, now because on your passport, you cannot even leave the country, and travel the way your white privileged ass has always been able to travel, safely and securely. Welcome to what Black and brown people have been going through since this administration has been sworn in. Black and brown people cannot travel in and out of the country through customs safely anymore because they are automatically looking folks up and down to see who that they can hold for a couple of hours to make sure that you have your proper paperwork, who they can detain and question and potentially go through your phone to see if you've said anything bad about Donald Trump. Welcome to the world of Black women. Okay? Welcome to it. It doesn't really feel good, but see, we tried to tell you, but in your mind, you still think that you are a white male with privilege. And this is the sickness of it, because you decided to be a trans woman, which if that's what you want to do, ain't none of my business. It's not my body. It ain't my fate. It's not my choice. It ain't my money. It ain't nothing. But just know when you jump in that arena, what it comes with. And in your mind, you thought you were going to be different. And you're not. You are not. In fact, you are absolutely the same. You would have been better by being a white male and just go sucking one of the congressmen peeing behind closed doors. You would have done better by going to a glory hole place and getting off that way and still being a white male so you could walk in your privilege. You would have did better by doing that. Because right now, you're actually doing a disservice to the trans community. Because really and truly, I often wonder, was this just for money and, a publicity stunt? Because if you really, really ingrained yourself in this community, you wouldn't be talking like you do, and you wouldn't be voting like you do. So again, on the episode of Fuck Around and Find Out, now this white privileged man can't travel as a white privileged woman anymore. And that's what he's griping about. Mm-hmm. That's what he's griping about. But it is what it is. It is what it is. This is what happens. This is exactly what happens. Okay, this is exactly what happens. And quite frankly, I don't feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for you or your Kardashian clan. I don't, because I don't care about them either. Because they're grifters, okay? They love to have swirly kids, but don't understand Black women's plight, okay? They want to be us so bad and will pay the top dollar to look like us and don't do anything to help us or to push the narrative forward, okay? So I don't care about them either. Not a big supporter of them. Don't watch them. Don't even subscribe to them, okay? Because they are grifters of our culture. They love our culture. They want to be our color, but they don't want to live the realities that we live and face every day. That's a whole nother dialogue for another day, baby. We could go on and on about that topic right there. And again, I keep telling you guys, these folks are looking for a new home, right? Because before you know it, Caitlyn Jenner is going to come out and be like, oh, I voted wrong. We're just going to wait on that, right? That's coming up soon. We can all predict it because all it takes is one policy they don't agree with. And then it's another policy that comes after that. And then it's like, oh, I can't take it anymore. Ask Candace Owens. Ask Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ask them folks. Marjorie Taylor Greene is looking for a new home right now. Okay. And Ilman Umar, I can't take you serious. Out of Minnesota, the reason why I can't take you serious, you're talking about we should welcome in Marjorie Taylor Greene. But when you're the same person that demonized Kamala Harris for reaching across the aisle, though. So I don't want to hear you either. And see, I keep my eye on people like that who sound good, who act like they want to advocate so much, but then, oh, we should welcome them in. Oh, we should welcome them in, should we? But this is the very woman that said that you guys were eating dogs. That was sitting next to a man that said you married your brother. So I'm not taking you too serious either. Because again, you helped usher in when you were so anti-Kamala and didn't want to go out there and stomp for her because of the greater good, the greater cause. And now all of a sudden we're supposed to open up the doors to the cookout. We're supposed to take the chains off the thing and let you in because all of a sudden you've seen the light. Go see the light somewhere else, sis. Go see the light somewhere else because we don't give a damn. We don't care. Just like good old Tucker Carlson here. Just watch this.
To everyone, do you know who just lost one of his biggest supporters over the ongoing war in Iran? Far-right commentator Tucker Carlson says he regrets ever helping to put you-know-who in the White House. Take a look.
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional.
Oh, please.
Oh, please. Oh, please. You know why I'm not buying into this? Do you know why I'm not buying into this Tucker Carlson BS right here? I'm not buying into it because if the opportunity presented itself again, he would vote the same way. He would absolutely vote the same way. Because everything that Project 2025 stood for, they are doing right now. So what is it that, a light bulb went off? No, what happens is I keep telling you guys, racism is expensive. Racism is expensive. And now they're starting to see you're no longer popular. Tucker Carlson is out of a job for Fox News. So now he has had to join the likes of Don Lemon, Joy Reid, Tiffany Cross, all these other prolific journalists, right, into creating their own spaces. And realizing you don't have the backing of Fox News, but also realizing how crazy that you actually sounded. But I will say this again and continue to say this again. A zebra stripes does not change. Tucker Carlson, I don't believe you. I do not believe you because the policies were written out in black and white. They were written in black and white, and your racism is what got in the way of understanding that this was going to happen. But see, they were okay with voting with said policies as long as it didn't touch them, right? But see, the way these things work is when he decides to bomb a place or decides to invoke all of these tariffs, right? It's not just tariffs on the products that Black and brown people buy. It's on tariffs on everything. So then it affects everybody, right? When he decides when he decides to manipulate the market and do all of these wild things and be the grifter that he is, and he doesn't realize, oh, they're really making my health insurance premium go up too. You understand? They thought, oh, this is okay because it's never going to be me. And again, on today's edition of Fucking Around and Finding Out, Tucker Carlson has found out. It is too expensive to be racist. It is so expensive to be racist to the fact that my premiums are high because Tucker Carlson is not a part of the elite 1%. He's not. He may have money, but he's not the 1%. So anybody that's not the 1%, guess what? You are feeling the wrath of taxes. You're feeling the wrath of everything going up. Because the Republicans raise taxes on 95% of Americans and cut taxes for the 5%. And we know that Tucker Carlson is not a part of this 5%. We know this. We know that his children, insurance coverage for his kids, the premiums have went up. What we also know is that the debt has been blown up. Oh my gosh. What are we up to, like $36 trillion now? But this is supposed to be everything that the GOP is against. They are against adding to the debt. They are against overspending. They want physical responsibility. Physical, FISCAL, fiscal responsibility. And this is the administration of none of that. It is the grifter in politics. And he has now found out that he can no longer benefit off of being on Trump's side. So now I've had it come to Jesus because this man said he was going to commit genocide. This man is bombing a girls' school that killed all of the girls and women that were there. My gas prices are through the roof because the national average now is still at $4.03. That my electric bill has went up by 2. We are seeing water shortages because Corpus Christi will eventually run out of water because Texas has 120 data centers. That hospitals are closing because they can no longer afford to keep them open because we have less and less people insured. Okay. That the cost of living has skyrocketed so much that the average cost of rent for a 2-bedroom is close to $3,000. Okay. Schools are overcrowded, underfunded. Teachers are not paid enough. Okay. We're seeing people who are not even qualified be in positions of making decisions and they're not making correct decisions. Good morning. Good morning. We are watching them line their pockets at the expense of tax-paying dollars. You got Kash Patel talking about he's going to sue the Atlantic for $250 million. But here's the catch. Discovery is a mother, but that is tax-paying dollars. This is why they want to sue people so bad. The same way now that we have sued Trump for the tariffs, and now they had to pay the tariffs back to those companies yesterday. You see how quietly that traveled through? They're having to pay the tariffs back. You got Elon Musk up there suing because he wants to have the right to be racist. He wants to have the right to say racist things and make racist decisions, right? But yet y'all keep buying Teslas. This is why I said, be careful. I get it. It's an electric car, but I wouldn't give his company no more money. Okay. Tucker Carlson is finding out in real time, this ain't it and this ain't that. But yet he wants to say, oh, I'm tormented by this. Well, what do you want us to do about it? Take it to the Lord in prayer because we can't help you. We told you what was going to happen. But again, your racist eyeballs, your racist lens could not let you see beyond your nose. And now, because that 92% said we ain't going no more, we're done with it, because we have decided to go inwardly to our own community and find ways to be happy and still thrive. Now you have fucked around and found out, and you're begging for our help. No, y'all go get people to vote. No, y'all go rally and be in the street, okay? No, y'all go and knock on doors and get people rallied up because we don't have the energy anymore. And see, they love our labor, but they hate our leadership. And it disgusts me that that is the fact. But that's always been since slavery time. They loved our labor, but we could never lead our own people the way that we wanted to. And for them to even go and say, MAGA, that is, they love to always say, why don't y'all make y'all own this and da-da-da. Every time we've created a space for us to thrive. Okay. Every time we've built cities for us to thrive, you have burned it down to the ground. You have burned it down to the ground. And you talk about y'all want to be able, no, all we've ever wanted to be done is left alone and give us the same rights and protection that you have. Because I guarantee if we wanted revenge, we would have burnt this mother down long time ago. because we built this shit for free. So again, all y'all talking about we're remorseful. No, sit in it. Rest in it, lay in it, take it to the Lord in prayer, go to the altar, lay there, sleep there, go get hands laid on you, go get oil, go into the confessional, write it in a journal, whatever suits your fancy. But we don't want to hear it because we tried to tell you in real time that destruction and disruption does not know a color or a gender. It's going to disrupt and destruct everything. This is indeed what you voted for, but you never thought it was going to touch you. And that's why they're so upset. So let's not be confused here. Let's not, act like, oh, no, you're not invited to the cookout. No, you can't come do the electric slide with us. No, you can't come learn how to braid hair. No, you can't come and sit and play basketball with us. No, you cannot. Our invite list, our adding to the list is closed. Take it to them folks that voted for them with you. Okay, go talk to them because we don't have nothing for you. We have absolutely nothing for you. Okay, I mean, absolutely nothing for you. And on that note, guys, I'm finished for the day. That is my spew. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I had a great time. Thank you all 236 of you for coming in. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share, become a member, donate to the goals. This is hands down what? Okay, it can be racist if you want to. That's fine. But you know who's even more racist? Donald Trump. And here's the thing. Let me educate you really quick. Black people can't be racist. You can only be racist when you're in a position of power. Go look it up. It's in the dictionary. Go to Google, go Google it. You can only be racist when you're in a position of power. So I can't be racist, okay? Exactly. I said what I said. Now go learn something, okay? And until next time, thank you for coming to Politics and Plain English. We talk current political events and explain what's happening, why it's happening, and what it means. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you here tomorrow.